Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be going over the basics of GGplot. GGplot is an R package in the tidyverse that is used to create graphs. The syntax of GGplot is very different from the base R plotting syntax and can be a little difficult to figure out at first. So we're starting with a new session in RStudio. I have my script on the left and the console on the right. I'm going to library in the GGplot and dplyr packages. And we're going to be using the mtcars dataset. I'm sure if you've seen any R tutorials, you're familiar with the mtcars dataset. To create any figure with GGplot, you need to start off with the GGplot function. In this function, you include the name of the dataset that you're using and the aesthetics section. The aesthetics is where you specify which columns you want as your X and Y variables. After that, you need to add the type of plot you want to create. For example, if I want to create a graph using points, I will add geom_point. All of the types of plots that you can create follow the same syntax. They'll be named geom _ whatever type of graph you want to make. If you want to make a line chart, it's geom line, box and whisker plot is geom box plot, etc. You can find all of the different options online looking up the GGplot cheat sheet. So let's start off with a simple example, making a scatterplot. I'm going to use the weight as the X variable and drat as the Y variable. This is what a standard GGplot will look like. Now we're going to begin to customize it. Let's start by color coding the points. We want to be able to quickly identify which points are from cars with cylinders with 6 cylinders versus which ones are from cars with 4 cylinders. We're going to first set the cylinder column as a factor using the mutate function. We're then going to create a plot like we did before with the weight as the X variable and drat as the Y variable, but we're going to add this third argument, color. This is telling it to set the color to be equal to the cylinder level. One of the benefits of using GGplot is that it ties seamlessly in with the rest of the tidyverse functions. So as you can see, this makes it really easy to do any sort of manipulation to your data that you need to get it set up in the format and then send it straight into a plot. And it knows to use the manipulated data frame instead of the original. As you can probably tell, the style is very different from base R plots. GGplots are very customizable, and there are many pre-made themes that you can use to change the style of the plot that you have. I prefer to use the classic theme most of the time. It's the most simplistic and minimal. And all of the themes are called by theme _ name of the theme, similar to the geom syntax. So now I'll show you how to create a plot with 2 different data sets. I'm going to first subset the rows of data for cars with 6 cylinders and name that cars.sub. Then I'm going to make a scatter plot of weight and drat for all cars using geom_point. Next, I want to add a line for the data from our cars.sub data frame. So I'll add a new geom line function with the same X and Y names, but the data argument is going to be the name of the new data frame. I also want to change the color of the line, so outside of the aesthetics function, I'll add color equals orange. If I put it inside of the aesthetics function, it would color it by the factor that the cylinder is. Now we have a scatter plot and a line graph with data from 2 different data sets. If you wanted to use data from the same data frame for the line part, you wouldn't need to specify the data argument. You could just put in your X and Y column names. Also notice that the axis names default to the column names of the data you're plotting. You can easily change these by using the labs function and just specify which axis, X or Y, and the name that you want to change it to. You can also add a title here by adding title equals whatever you want to call it. So in this example, I'll call it 2 dataset plot. Okay, lastly, I'm going to show you how to create side-by-side plots using groups in your data. I want to look at the number of cars that get the same miles per gallon, but I want to break them out by how many cylinders that car has. So I want the miles per gallon on the x-axis, and I'm going to use geom histogram because a histogram plot is the number of times each event, which in this case is the miles per gallon, occurs in your data. Then I'm going to add a facet wrap and use the tilde symbol, which is this little squiggly line, and the column I want it to group the data by. Now we have 3 different plots with the number of cylinders at the top, 4, 6, and 8. You can see that the ranges of miles per gallon is pretty different between the 3 groups. You can add the scales equals free argument into the facet wrap function, and it'll put each plot on its own X or Y scale. It's up to you on whether or not to include this. In some cases, it may make it easier to see your data. In other cases, it might be misleading. So that's a personal preference. So that's an introduction into using GGplot to create graphs. And let me know in the comments below what your favorite theme is and if you have any other questions.